Hello and welcome to this special edition of the Vedic Lunar Scope for Mars's conjunction with Ketu in Sravana Nakshatra, which is going to be taking place between the 10th of May and the 10th of October of this year. Now, that's a rather long transit. And here's why. What happens with this particular transit is that Mars, as it passes through Sravana Nakshatra, and I should mention these two planets will be conjuncting each other prior to that, but we're focusing this video on Sravana Nakshatra and the period of time that they're in that. But whilst Mars is and Ketu are both in Sravana Nakshatra, Mars will pass over an exact conjunction with Ketu at the beginning of June. And then Mars will go all the way to the very edge of Sravana Nakshatra, and it will station. And it's going to turn retrograde, and it's going to retrograde back over Ketu, and it's going to pass over Ketu around mid-July again, and then it'll go to the very beginning of Sravana Nakshatra, and then it will station and turn direct, and then it will pass back over Ketu again towards the end of September. It's a lot of energy focusing on Sravana Nakshatra. So what's this all about? Right? We got all the technical mumbo jumbo out of the way. How does this impact your life? Well, number one, it's going to impact each person differently dependent upon where it's falling in their chart. Equally, it's going to be dependent upon what Mars rules in your horoscope, right? The nodal axis in your chart. And really, for me to dissect that for you personally, I would need for you to schedule an astrological service with me, which you can do through the link above in the video. But overall, in terms of understanding this, there is a particular action, right? Because let's face it, it's all about action. When you've got Mars involved in the mix, it's all about an action, right? But there's a particular action that you're needing to take in order to kind of shift a situation on, that you've been wanting to shift on for quite a long time, but you really just have not been able to find the right way to do so. And so over this period of time, you're considering all the paths, all the plans, all the options that could be possible in order to create this shift. And, you're probably, to be fair, taking a little bit of action in a few of those different areas. But sometimes we end up in those positions where there are different ways that things could unfold. And when there are so many different ways that things could unfold, we kind of get caught up in the confusion. The mind begins to attach to one, and then it begins to attach to another. And finally, we just kind of find ourselves in a position where we just kind of feel unstable and kind of like we're like teetering on the edge of doing something, but not really finding ourselves in a position of being able to actually kind of take the plunge. And so then we feel like, gee, I'd really like to have some support in making this decision. But that support may not be there. And any support that you find in making that decision is support that, is kind of, well, I want to use the phrase, past its sell-by date. Right? And you may think it's supportive, and it may be supportive on a minute level, but it's not as supportive as you would like for it to be. And let's face it too, this particular choice that you're looking to make, it's so that you can be in a position where you're able to be supportive or be more supportive of somebody else or somebody that you care about. And again, this all depends on where Mars is transiting in your chart. And so you're kind of in a position where you're wanting the answer to come to you, but the answer is not really coming to you in a manner that allows you to feel like you're comfortable making a clear choice. Here's what you need to do to kind of help yourself through this process, right? But also take your time with this process, because Mars is going to make it feel edgy, right? It's going to make it feel edgy to you, because that's what Mars does. When Mars has to solve a problem, Mars gets passionate, Mars gets edgy. And when Mars goes retrograde, it begins to go, well, I kind of feel like I should be doing this, but I don't really feel like it's in my power to do that. Yeah, but that's good when Mars goes retrograde, because then we begin to penetrate inside of ourselves. We begin to kind of sort out all that stuff that we were confused about. We go back over those plans. We take a look at things. We see where they might have been faulty, and we kind of pick it apart. But, and here's the big but, no, I'm only kidding. But here's the big but, when we kind of find ourselves in that position, then we can overanalyze too. So I was beginning to tell you the solution to this problem. So what is the solution? Look at how all those different ways forward might share a common theme between them. Okay? Equally, the more the mind goes in this direction and goes in that direction and goes there and goes here and goes there and here and there and everywhere, and it's just going all over the place, my goodness, what the hell am I going to do? Well, what you got to do is you got to go, whoa, now let's just kind of back off of this a little bit, right? Maybe I'm trying to reason my way through this a little too much. Maybe I'm looking for input for a problem that nobody's really going to give me input on except myself. And maybe in order to get that input from myself, I need to connect to different faculties within myself rather than just trying to sort this whole problem out intellectually. Maybe I need to tune in to what seems like it's going to feel best. And maybe I need to begin to trust that rather than all these other things that I'm trusting or trying to trust, but can't really trust because I'm just not getting the feedback from the cosmos that makes it feel like I'm comfortable enough to take that step out into the foray and make that big decision. But guess what? You can't cling on here forever. So probably around the end of September, until like the end of this particular transit in Sravana Nakshatra, you're going to come upon a plan or an idea that, although it's not going to be perfect, and although it's likely going to require a sacrifice on your part, and even though it's going to mean working within some limitations in order to make this decision, you begin to recognize this is the most noble thing for me to do. You may fear doing that because you may fear actually losing face in the process. But when you're trusting here and you're trusting in your intuition, rather than letting the mind run from one thing to another, tearing a situation apart until it's all completely broken in the first place, right? When you're tuning into yourself, then you're going to make better decisions with this process, and that's what's going to help you through. So along the way, over the course of the next several months, when you find yourself getting confused about this process, keep remembering, I need to tune into myself. I need to use my intuition. I need to listen to what the universe is trying to tell me rather than attaching my mind to one of these particular concepts and running like a maniac with it. Take your time with this process, right? But you just remember, here's the key thing, right? You can kind of teeter on the edge. You can try to cling to what's secure, but you're going to have to make some inroads into that other avenue, even if you're somewhat afraid to do so. So give it time, explore your options along the way. Don't go crazy and attach to one. Try to understand that if you see many different opportunities in front of you, what is the common theme that underlies all those different opportunities or all those different ideas? In that is going to be the answer that you're going to find. Maybe you'll make a jump sooner than September, but if not, you're likely going to find yourself making progress on this particular plan round about the end of September. Now, this is a really powerful transit for a lot of us. So if you'd like to know what this relates to in your particular life, rather than just the general energy of it, you can feel free to schedule an astrological service with me. Any service will do, but I also do highly recommend the Tier 1 and Tier 2 consultations or the karmic analysis or one of my coaching packages, because those allow us to do deep karmic work together and have a little more time to kind of settle into the specifics of your chart, because this is also going to revolve around where Ketu and Rahu are in your particular horoscope. And you can schedule a type of consultation like this with me if you'd like through the astrological services link that you'll see above. That's going to do it for this version of the Vedic lunar scope for Mars's conjunction with Ketu in Sravana Nakshatra. Until next time, please do take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.